Today's episode of Daily Detroit is brought to you in part by Castalia Cocktails. Don't just drink cocktails, experience them. With matching scents and knowledgeable bartenders to guide you, it's a great experience. Try one of their pairings or feel free to go off the menu with an adventure for your senses. The menu both tells you how boozy a drink is, and there is a full non-alcoholic lineup, taking care to give you a top-notch sensory experience no matter how you'd like to drink. Whether it's the intimate indoor bar with less than 20 seats or on the patio outside, enjoying the best Detroit has to offer, Castalia is a great spot for a night out, a drink after dinner, or a date. They're open to all Wednesdays through Saturdays from 5 to 11 p.m. with a possibility for unique experiences for small groups anytime with a reservation. You can learn more at CastaliaCocktails.com. That's CastaliaCocktails.com. Make sure to support the businesses that support us and stop on by. Happy Friday, Lions fans. It is September 8th, 2023. Welcome to your Daily Detroit, sharing what to know and where to go in Southeast Michigan. I am Jer Stays with a gigantic jug of blue Kool-Aid next to my microphone, coming to you from the east side. And joining me, as he does every Friday, Mr. Friday.
Devin O'Reilly. I'm sipping a nice coffee mug of blue Kool-Aid here. Nice and warm for me.
You're going to let people think it's coffee or blue Kool-Aid, whatever you want to do.
Exactly. You can't see in the cup, but no, it's blue Kool-Aid. What a way to kick off the NFL season and the Lions season. Jer, I guess the word is just busting. People are busting with pride and happy thoughts about this.
Fans need this. And I don't know what's going to portend for the whole season. I am on the record earlier on the show saying that I'm very positive about this season because I think there's a lot of things that the Lions can do right to get into the playoffs. And I'm just so glad to see this. I'm glad to see conversion on some of their mistakes. I know that like Kansas City was missing a couple players, whatever. Here's the thing. I think that we're going to go from the pitied team to the heel team. I think this is the beginning of the heel turn. And I don't mean locally. I mean for the rest of the league. Think about this, okay? And I can't be the first one to think about this, but we ruined Aaron Rodgers' everything last year. We pulled everything down on him. Right. And then we ruined their banner ceremony or whatever for winning the Super Bowl. Like, I like this theme of just going in there and being the heel for every team.
Well, we play a really good villain. We're the darlings right now. I mean, Jer, it is one of those things. I mean, can you have too much hype? Because I was looking at the kind of the predictions and the national prediction stuff on different websites, and nearly everybody has us at least making the playoffs, whether it be winning the division or getting into the wild card. Almost everybody has us making the playoffs. And it's almost like we're so not used to this, Jer. We're so not used to being the favorites. You know, we really kind of thrive on the underdog. So we are entering seriously uncharted waters here.
I agree. I hope that we can keep it going. And I pray for the kneecaps that will be bitten off throughout the 2023 NFL season.
So many kneecaps. And you know what? I'll tell you what, just doing a little prognostication here, looking at the schedule, we don't play a really good team, or at least a team that's supposed to be good for a while. I mean, we've got the Seahawks at home. We've got the Falcons at home. We play the Packers without Aaron Rodgers. We've got the Panthers. Like, the next 4 games are easily winnable. I mean, Jer, I don't even want to know what would happen if we, go into, the game 6, 4-0 or 5-0. It'd be insane.
There's going to be something in there. I have the blue Kool-Aid, but I'm not sitting here like we're Super Bowl bound at this point. I do say, though, I want to exact some revenge on Seattle next week because, that tiebreaker last year hurt us. So it's time to exact some revenge.
We got something to play for. And can you imagine? Oh, man, Ford Field is going to be just absolutely rocking for that game. That'll be very exciting. I just, temper the expectations. You might ask, though, I mean, the other way to look at it, Jared, is also saying, we beat the defending Super Bowl champs, Kansas City Chiefs. They lost some players. They're still favorites to go to the Super Bowl. But, could it be a scenario where maybe Kansas City's just not that good this year? I don't know.
I think that they're missing a couple of key players. I don't think that they should have. Like, there's so much Butterfingers on their side. And, I mean, look, I fully acknowledge that, but we capitalize on that. Like that Brian Branch pick 6, we capitalized on that. And so for me, I feel like that's part of winning is capitalizing on others' mistakes.
Absolutely. We played some real Dan Campbell football. He has to be happier than anybody this morning.
For sure, with his triple red eye espresso with like Red Bull stuck in it. Like, another shot of caffeine or something. I mean, that guy probably has like a coffee IV drip.
I think he takes like 4 shots in his coffee. So that man is an animal. But yeah, as long as he keeps winning football games for us, he can do whatever the heck he wants.
Okay, so yesterday, we're recording this on Friday morning because last night we were out, sir. Engineer Randy, you and I were out at the opening of the Godfrey Hotel, 227 rooms in the heart of Corktown. Let's talk about what our thoughts were walking away from it. Now, of course, let me caveat this. This is not a full review. This is a snapshot. We didn't stay there. We didn't whatever. This is a snapshot of what we saw and some of our first impressions. You go first, Devon.
It was so cool to be able to check it out with the team. All 3 of us got to go to this ribbon cutting. That was very unique. We usually kind of, divvy up the work and the places to go, but we all got to do it together. So that was awesome, Jared. Good seeing you yesterday. The Godfrey it's unique for Corktown. I mean, I'll start there by saying Corktown doesn't have this. They really don't have a hotel. They have some in Trumbull and Porter. They have some more kind of like inn type of places, but not an actual hotel. And this one is like, I think, a Hilton flag.
What do you think is the difference between that in your mind?
I mean, it's just a level, an expectation.
Okay.
The bar and restaurant concepts that we saw are going to be, really, really elevated. We'll get more into that. But I just want to say, just broadly, there's a lobby bar. There's a breakfast, lunch, and dinner place. There's, all sorts of different amenities. There's a certain level that a hotel like that rises to. And then it also comes with an expectation, and frankly, it comes with a price point. But for instance, Trumbull and Porter, their restaurant concept, I've always kind of liked. It's never open. It's got really weird hours. It doesn't really keep the hotel type of hours. So this is like you'll always have kind of a place to go to grab some food, to grab a drink, because you have a hotel there. It's like one of those, like the open sign is always lit at a hotel. And the Godfrey is, right there on Michigan Avenue. So it is smack dab. I mean, literally in the heart of Corktown. And most of the rooms have great views of Michigan Avenue, of downtown. You've got some incredible views. The hotel itself is done up really well, really high end. It's definitely not one of those like lipstick on a pig situations. I'm not going to name names, but we've seen before where you kind of just you do a shoddy job and you kind of make it look nice. You glitter up the pig.
There's a gold accent thrown in there.
Right. Yeah. No, this one is actually done really nice. I believe the developers are based out of Chicago. There was a lot of Chicago folks there yesterday from the development team that we got to chat with a little bit. So I'm really impressed. I know we'll get into the crown jewel, as it were, of the space with the bar, but the IO. But let me hear your feedback.
Whatever you think of it, it is a slice of the River North neighborhood of Chicago in Detroit. Like, that's exactly what it is.
Very, very well said.
Whatever you think of that, it screams Chicago in its feel and style. I've been to places like this before in Chicago. And so in that way, it is unique. But that is the entire vibe that I am feeling with that. Even with like some of the pictures I've seen of rooftop bars, which I enjoyed the IO views and things like that. I think it's interesting that it's got a retractable roof. I think that's important in this kind of weather. One thing that I will say that I am looking forward to is the Hamilton space. And not because I need another steakhouse, but because of who's going to run it. The people from the Phoenician and Leila are behind that concept down there. And it's morphed a couple times, as they said, but they've settled on the Hamilton space and the steakhouse concept. They execute well. So I have faith that this might turn out really well too. And the location is superb. You've got the Axe Throwing across the street. You've got Nemo's across the street. You've got Atava Via across the street. You've got McShane's down the street. You've got gelato places. You got UFO bar. Like, if you want to just drop into Corktown and go out and like paw around Michigan Avenue, this is a great place, and the location is unbeatable.
I think it really lends itself well to a staycation of sorts that you could do and stay in Corktown, be in the thick of it all, have a really nice steakhouse restaurant on site, have a couple different bars to kind of check out. That IO space is amazing. I/O, which I found out is for inside outside, because as you said, Jared, there's a retractable roof on it. So even when the roof's on, though, it feels like you're outside in certain spaces there. So you kind of get this cool vibe of like you feel like you're outside, and even though you're inside, it's beautiful glass roof, and there's multiple bars. I mean, the space is amazing. I could see it being used for events, weddings or birthday parties, all sorts of fun stuff. I think it's going to be a very Instagrammable spot. I mean, extremely Instagrammable spot, I should say, which, as we know, is important these days for new locations. So I am really looking forward to having some drinks up on that rooftop, whether it's nice out or whether it's snowing. Because the fact is, you can do both.
The walls also are retractable too. So there's a lot of glass walls that actually have like a little porch area in front of them, or like porch I don't know, partitions that keep you in. So that also can retract as well, which I think will really add something else to the space. They've got like a 5,000 square foot ballroom just to like knock out the things. As I said, 227 rooms. They have a lot of Detroit sports themed photos on like the end caps of their rooms. So, I mean, it's on the higher end of the price point. I think that IO bar will be a see and be seen kind of place, right?
Yeah,
Like that's the kind of vibe it's going to be. So like I will probably go there, but I am going to go with an attention to being put together, if you know what I mean.
A collared shirt, perhaps.
So, I'm going to bring this up really quick. A little bit of a sidebar. I'm a little bit annoyed. I'm going to say
Okay.
an unpopular opinion. I don't want to throw these guys under the bus because this has happened multiple times in the last like 2 or 3 weeks, because it really seems in some ways that the going outness is really picking up in a big way as far as events and different things. The communication on dress code for events needs to come back. Like, I think events need to say business casual, suits, whatever, because there's been a few events now, whether I've been too high or too low, where you don't really know how to dress because it's a transition time. People are either working from home or they've been, more casual at the office or 3 days a week, or what's the difference between Wednesday and Friday? And I think it just would be more polite in general for events going forward. What is the dress expectation? Now, this is something that my grandmother did in like the 1990s, but in a situation where you've got so many people from so many backgrounds and so many like situations, I mean, yes, you could always generally try to overdress, but you always want to kind of match your crowd. So I think we should bring back the little courtesy note of what the dress code is or dress expectation is.
I would agree, Jer. I mean, like you said, dress codes are kind of all over. There's really no codes, I should say.
It's not really codes. It's
dressing is
expectations.
all over the place. Yeah. Dressing is all over the place. I mean, people are the athleisure kind of line and feel has just completely taken off. So you get tons of that. Yesterday, we were relatively underdressed. I mean, I was in a polo. You had a button-up short sleeve shirt on, but we were definitely underdressed compared to the people in full suits and even jackets, sport coats, blazers. I mean, honestly, suits are very passe now, it seems like. I mean, it's very rare there's an occasion where you need a full suit. But, people were definitely dressed for a River North grand opening or ribbon cutting.
Yes. That was one of the reasons why it tipped off to me. Also, like the color schemes, the kind of like the gold and the whatever. I feel like I've seen this hotel before. Not to knock it, but it's going to do well, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, in my head, Randy and I stayed at another Curio hotel in Memphis, the Central Street Station, which is actually the redone train station. There actually still is a train station in Memphis and connected to their streetcar line. We went there last year for the Detroit City FC playoffs. And I realized in this whole situation that Curio is just like the independent brand. And like the two of them didn't really share any DNA whatsoever, right? It's just Curio is if you're an independent hotel that provides a little bit of upper end experience, you can sign up for Curio and be part of the rewards and whatever. And I did not know that.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, I like the idea of having a kind of one-of-one hotel that doesn't exist anywhere else. So that's really cool. And it's certainly, like I said, it's a welcome space for Corktown because we don't have this here yet. And now we do.
So, Devon, I want to talk about a different kind of where I've been, because this isn't a place of eating or drinking, but I actually went to like a meeting of travel experts, which was kind of interesting to go to.
I mean, that does sound interesting. And I mean, I love the idea of continuing to promote Detroit and the region as a travel destination, of course.
Yeah. So I went to this Travel Works for Detroit thing with the Visit Detroit and all that stuff. There was a bunch of hotel owners and venue places and things like that for kind of an afternoon long program. Sorry, I'm a little tongue tied. I'm a little up. I was up late last night with that game.
Right, we all were.
And everyone from Congresswoman Debbie Dingell, Speaker of the State House Joe Tate, Deputy Mayor Todd Bedison, like a bunch of people. Dennis Archer Jr. was on a panel. People from General Motors were on a panel talking about autonomous vehicles. And I just kind of had some interesting thoughts. One, I didn't realize how much of a national delay was happening with passports and international travel. That's something that Debbie Dingell brought up, that's a thing that's actually even a trouble for her staffers, that the wait on a passport now is like 8 months or more.
Wow.
And it's actually hurting international travel, which is a big deal because of where we're at, right? It's a very big deal because of where we're at. I realized just there's so many jobs attached to the visit economy. The fun trivia fact, which I think you knew, was that the Henry Ford Greenfield Village is by far and away the top travel destination in our region. I don't think people locally realize that because everybody talks about downtown, but it's that far and away people come for.
Oh, yeah. I mean, not surprising. I think that numbers are over 1 million. It's incredible numbers that they do for, just on a general day. They're always busy. People bring their campers. People make days out of it. There's hotels in Dearborn that mostly serve Greenfield Village guests, basically. So it's its own little theme park in a way. And so it's quite a gem. And I hope that people locally realize the gem that it is.
Oh, yeah. And if you haven't been, I think it's totally worth it. In fact, I really want to get over there soon before the Greenfield Village season, because I know they could do like the Halloween stuff and the Christmas stuff.
Oh, it's that is truly unique. And let me tell you something. Quick aside, Jer. That Halloween night at Greenfield Village, they do it in the month of October. My wife was online for like 2 hours in a queue waiting to purchase tickets for that. Those things sold out within like hours. It's crazy.
Wow. Well, I admire the dedication of your wife on that one. It's like Taylor Swift tickets, but for...
It was.
A couple other things I thought were interesting. A lot of focus on autonomous vehicles. One of the things that I think I'm starting to really realize is that a big focus going forward is going to be that. I think that's where, to me, the vision is with this. They talked a lot about the vehicles in San Francisco and that being a difficult test area. And the thing is about serving the whole Detroit region, not that I'm against adding more stuff, because I do think we need more direct connections. It just wasn't brought up in this conference. But when you're dealing with Metro Detroit, people are visiting this city and going all the way from downtown Detroit, all the way out to Troy, all the way out to Macomb County. Like, it is spread everywhere when it comes to people coming here. And I did not really realize that as much. So serving all of that area at a price that we could actually afford is an interesting question to me. I think about the idea of, is the shuttle from the airport really just going to end up being, in 10 years, some sort of autonomous car or autonomous lane like they're doing out in Belleville? They're doing that test track or whatever. I really am starting to get that feel between the bus shortage, between like what's out there as far as like transit and everything else. I feel like this decision, they didn't say this here, but between this event and others, I feel like the decision's been kind of made that we're going autonomous and that we shouldn't be really looking for, giant leaps in bus transit or rail anytime soon.
Yeah, exactly, Jer. I mean, it really helps because it's a controlled sector, the shuttles and things like that. And really, if we think about it, the dream or the vision of people owning autonomous vehicles that was kind of floating around a few years ago, this is going to be the future in a decade or in a generation. It's really kind of dwindled a little bit as people have kind of come to reality that like there's just still so much to figure out. Not necessarily even about the technology, but about how autonomous vehicles for personal ownership are going to function with others. It's just kind of a tangled web and really a mess. So what you've seen is the sector really double down on shuttle service and trucking and things like that, things that can be kind of, controlled by a company who can run these autonomous shuttles. They can have their own lane, their own space. And that's exactly what you're going to see, Jerry. I think that's where you'll start to see autonomous vehicles, true autonomous kind of fleets in motion, is an airport shuttle that takes you from DTW to downtown to Troy to wherever for your conference, for your meeting, for your visit to Detroit. So I think, that's going to be the future, is autonomous shuttles at airports. And I predict, that really is, you hit it on the head, Jared. That is probably where you're going to see the first autonomous shuttles, is kind of to and from airports, including Detroit, of course.
And I think this is a response to some other forces. Now, I completely think that drivers deserve what they get paid. I'm not arguing that. But as you increase the wages of workers, autonomous stuff starts to look more and more attractive. We won't get into it, but that's kind of the heart of the issue with doing some of the things with the UAW and the possible strike coming up. This is where the rubber's going to meet the road. It's not going to be on like journalists like using AI or fake journal, all that kind of stuff where it's like an AI generated article. Sure, that's a point of discussion. But as far as economically where the rubber meets the road metaphorically and really, this is what I'm realizing is going on here. And that if they can replace it with some sort of monthly service or something like that, that is something that I think a lot of businesses are going to try to do. Whether one likes it or not, I feel like that's where the future's going.
Yeah, we could go down a whole different topic with that, but it is really important and worth saying, Jer, is that, through all these labor discussions and, folks fighting for increased pay and wages and working conditions and all that, you have this kind of undercurrent of companies and corporations who are like kind of blatantly saying, you know what, we'd actually just like to automate all this and not have you at all. And so that's kind of like that undercurrent of like, yes, maybe they'll acquiesce to the workers and give them more, but like behind the scenes, and not even really behind the scenes, they're trying to eliminate their jobs, quite frankly. I mean, they're trying to just automate it all. So it's a really delicate dance that's happening, and we will see what happens with that because, there's only going to be more automated jobs. The question is, are there jobs around the automation? And that becomes kind of the next phase of the question is, does it mean we're losing jobs or does it just mean jobs change because someone still needs to run the automation?
Yeah, I left this thinking that Detroit, Metro Detroit, and Michigan is a very popular travel destination between, a lot of the natural things, all that other kind of stuff. I think that there is a lot of positive things to look at. I think there's a few things we could work on. I know one thing that was brought up was late night restaurants. And so we've talked about this on the show a number of times, but that's something too that, especially if you're talking about in the context of travel. Now, this is a travel event, so they're going to talk in the context of travel. So people are going to yell at me and be like, what about, yes, residents too, but this is a travel event. So that's the context we're in, is those late night restaurants being something for if you want to get a bite to eat. And I feel like in a lot of ways, that's going to end up getting served by really good hotel restaurants. I think we're going to see an uptick in quality hotel restaurants. And I think that's part of the reason why you're seeing the investment, circling this all back to the Godfrey, in a really good restaurant in the hotel. So it's like, oh, you know what? It's midnight. I can get something, as opposed to, expecting others to be open that late. Because I think Metro Detroit has always kind of been an early to rise town. And I think that that's kind of settling back in as we get back away from the pandemic and things like that.
I think you're absolutely right, Jer. And like you said, it's evidenced by the fact that you've got the Godfrey, you've got the Cambria Hotel, and you've got the Westin adding Sullivan Steakhouse. These hotel concept restaurants are great because they're open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. There's going to be one at the David Whitney building when that kind of gets rebranded. I think that's where the future of late night eats, any breakfast anytime type of situations, that's where you're going to be able to get those. And so I'm glad that there's more of them than there were before, and there's going to continue to be growth there.
That said, if you're running around Royal Oak, I know engineer Randy likes the Owl. So that's over on Woodward. So if you're looking for a late night spot in Royal Oak, Randy has shared effusive praise about it.
Randy's a bit of a night owl as compared to
He
that.
is. So he is. That's one of the reasons we love him. All right, Devin O'Reilly, so good to talk to you. Happy Friday, and I really appreciate you.
Great to talk to you, Jared. Great seeing you yesterday. Let's cut some more ribbons together soon.
With that, I'm Jer Stays. Thank you so much for listening to Your Daily Detroit. Don't forget to leave 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to shows. Share the show with a friend. Have a wonderful weekend. Take care of each other, and I'll see you around Detroit.